So I'm going to be very honest. I'm going to be very honest with you. Because it has been so difficult to decide on how the heck to start this podcast, because my body is literally like fighting right now. I feel it. You feel when your body's not wanting to do something. You feel it because the spirit is so willing, but the flesh is? Exactly. Because the flesh is weak, because it's very, very weak, it wants to give up so quickly without putting in any effort. Anyways, we're gonna quickly give him just some praise. You know, we're gonna give him some praise, and however that may look like for you. Come on, get up, Lord, Lord, Lord. Never mind, I'm good now. Now that we've praised him, Jesus can heal what we're hiding. Hey guys, welcome back to Growing in Truth. It is your woman, but it's your woman with a little bit of spice because we are entering a series. I want to call it a series, but I feel like it's not going to be just a few weeks. I feel like we're going to be here a while. And because of the changes in how I'm posting, I'm not going to be posting weekly because have mercy on me. I have school and ministry and work and so many other things that I'm trying to finish and work on and all of that. So I kind of need the 2 weeks. I need every 2 weeks. But trust that every 2 weeks I'm giving you excellence. I'm not giving you half of myself. And I'm not giving you a fake devotion. I'm giving you what is truly within my heart and what God is just stirring up in me, right? So, although I'm posting every 2 weeks, I'm posting with excellence. And eventually, I'm praying this summer. But eventually, I will be posting weekly alongside a lot of other content. It's really hard to post content, but you know, you gotta be creative with it. And I love being creative on this space. So just have some expectation and pray for me because it takes so much devotion to be making those sort of changes and steps, but we're going to be doing it by the power of his name and his strength. So regardless, we're going to be on this series for quite a little bit. Like I said, I'm basically going to be focusing the rest of this year on lust. Diamante, where are you going to get so many titles, so many topics? How are you going to... If we're being so for real, there's enough to talk about. There is a lot to talk about. And I want to like venture out. I don't want to just start with the basics, which everyone knows. It's the whole waiting until marriage to have sex and, you know, the temptations part of it. I think a lot of people only think about like porn and self-pleasure. Maybe the stuff that girlfriends and boyfriends do when they shouldn't. You know, we just focus on those things. We don't focus on everything else that falls under the category because there's a lot of pretty dark things that are grabbing onto people and that people are hiding in the corners of their hearts. They're hiding those desires, they're hiding those temptations, and they're not being clear about what is truly part of their desires. So, I want to venture out and talk about many things. This is why I'm opening it up to my community, that you guys can reach out to me and ask me and tell me, what do we need to talk about? Because I have a list of things that I know I've dealt with, I know I've had to face. What are the things that you guys are facing that honestly, I would probably have some feedback because the Lord be sending me some whispers. And he's just so faithful that even if I have not gone through it myself, hands-on, he is the one to give me the feedback. So just trust that we will be covering a lot of things, but also be vulnerable enough to reach out and let me know what it is that you guys want to talk about. So without further ado, we're going to be in today's topic, which is focused on escaping temptation. Say it with me, escaping temptation. Now, this is my thing with this beautiful topic, because this was part of the questions that were asked, and I love how the question was asked, because it basically said, what are the systems or methods that are best for escaping temptation, escaping lustful temptation? And I immediately just thought back to 14-year-old Diamante, who was coming up with all of these like equations and scientific ways on how to get out of lustful temptation. And I made it so complicated. So today I kind of want to mesh two questions, because that question was asked, and then another one about how to basically get out of a cycle that feels hopeless. I want to stack these two questions together, because I think a hopeless heart really wants to know, how do I escape temptation? What are the methods? What's the system? Because there has to be one, right? Because I've tried to surrender over and over again, and I've tried to give up this thing over and over again. I've tried to speak to him about it. I've tried to actually keep this thing away from me. And every single time I'm weak, I find myself back there again. So there has to be a system, right? There has to be methods, right? So that I can get out of this thing, because no matter how much I try to let go, I never seem to find my way to be firm in what I've actually let go. I feel like we face this a lot. We face this difficulty a lot. So let's talk about it. Some problem just happened with my camera. Is the enemy trying to shut this down? Why is this man such a hater? No, I'm kidding. I just love to imagine that he's literally like out there just being like, oh my goodness, Diamante's starting this series called Horny to Holy, and I want to keep these kids horny. I don't want them to be holy. I was never allowed to be holy. You know? That's what I imagine the enemy's going through right now. He's feeling so bad for himself, because we're going to start speaking some truth, okay? And you know what? He can stay mad, because who got kicked out of heaven? Who did? Who did? And why? Because you really thought you could be better than God? Really? Get out my face. Get out my face. Anyways, guys, we're back. And I had to quickly deal with whatever was going on with my camera, but we're here. And we're ready to talk about From Horny to Holy. Now, why did I name it this series? I wanted to be a little unhinged, I have to admit to you. I wanted it to be not just an attention grabber, but being so for real about this feeling of horniness having such a grip on everyone. Literally everyone. It's crazy, because, oh my goodness, wait. I gotta preface this by saying, I want us to know the difference between judgment and truth. Because as I'm talking about these topics, I never want my attitude or how I am portraying this lustful addiction, this freedom, and all these things. All the things that fall under the category of horniness and holiness. I want us to be honest. I don't want us to think that moi right here, is being judgmental. Because to me, there's a difference between judgment and telling the truth. When I'm telling the truth, I'm giving you no excuse anymore. It's kind of like when Jesus would heal people and then say, okay, now sin no more. He's saying, okay, now you know better, do better. Don't go back to the thing that I just set you free from. And when he said that, do you think he was passing judgment? He wasn't passing judgment. The same way that when he met the Samaritan woman at the well, he wasn't saying, oh, you got all them husbands. Like, he wasn't, we of course as the church joke around and are like, yo, like he really called her out. But he told the truth. He gave her no excuse. He said, I know your need. I actually see your need. And I also have the truth here. So if you want it, I can give it to you. But just know there's hope for you. Rather, judgment is saying, you did that? Oh, you're stuck. You're going to be there for a while. Don't even think about coming to Christ because you're way too far deep. That's judgment. So never confuse the two, because people are so quick to say, oh, you're judging me. No, babe, I'm not judging you. I'm telling the truth, and now you feel convicted. You feel like you don't have an excuse anymore. And that's how you should feel, because that's how the kingdom is. We're supposed to be sharpening each other. We're supposed to be pointing each other to the truth. The big man over there that tells the truth. So, take this as telling the truth. No longer having an excuse. This is not about being judgmental, okay? You could tell me the darkest thing that you did. What in spirit, we're like, oh my goodness, thank you for telling the truth. That's what we should be concerned about. Anyways, I wanted to preface that. I closed my parentheses. I wanted to preface that because I felt like it was so necessary with how sensitive this topic can be sometimes, especially for what we're going to be venturing out in. I want us to be completely honest. I don't want there to be this perspective of shame, because we're actually here to kill shame. We're here to let vulnerability overflow into this little pond of shame and flood it, because I'm done thinking that this stuff is too shameful to bring to the presence of God. Okay? So be with me. Stay with me. When we talk about temptation, and when we talk about just horniness in general, horniness is an emotion. It is a feeling. You feel horny. You do not know horniness. You do not stand in that firmness of horniness, because if we really want to think about it like that, it's like waves. Horniness is like, oh, I'm at a climax, I'm back down. Oh, I'm at a climax, oh, I'm back down. It's not anything that's reliable. It's not a rock to stand on. It is waves that throw you everywhere. So horniness is a feeling. When we think about holiness, holiness is not something that can be felt. It's something that can be chosen. It's something that can be decided. It is a rock that you stand on. It's a rock that gives you standard. You stand on holiness to give you a standard. You allow yourself that although you feel something, although you are feeling the fullness of one thing, you choose to stand on something else, something that's a little more of a foundation, something that is your firm foundation. Come on, let's praise him. Christ is my firm foundation. Yes, he is, because he's literally holiness. So when you stand on holiness, it really overpowers horniness. Now, why in the world, when there is horniness that is present, why does it feel like that's more powerful than the holiness that we are choosing to bear? Why does it feel like no matter what we say or do, horniness is always going to be stronger and more appealing, more attractive than our God, who is holy? Why do we give it that much power? Why do we? That's what I really want to talk about. When we discuss temptation, when we think about escaping temptation, I can't give you this equation. I can't give you this method. And it's not to dilute the power of that question, because I love how this girl wrote this question, because it reminds me of every moment that I said, I need to figure out the system of this. I need to find the equation, because I am so desperate to get out of this cycle. I'm so desperate to get out of what I know is not good for me. Yet everything I've tried is not working. Not a single time I've surrendered do I feel like it's actually sticking. So let's talk about it. I think, this is what I think. I think the reason a lot of us think about methods and equations and systems in order to get out of these things is because we want a step-by-step. We want literally to be handheld out of our sin, out of what is separating us from God. We want to be set free by just one decision that we make one time. We don't want the constant, oh, I gotta crucify my flesh daily. No, we want okay, I surrendered it all in one night, and now for the rest of my life, I will carry out in holiness. That is not gonna happen because horniness comes in waves. So whenever we are horny, it comes out of nowhere. It comes out of a trigger that you watched. It comes out of a thought that you had about a person. It comes out of I feel lonely. I feel anxious. I feel tired. I feel. Horniness just follows the feeling. So understanding temptation is really where we have to focus today. We cannot hone in on just one equation that is black or white that can be applied to every single life that is facing horniness. Because in reality, every person is different. Every heart is different. Every surrender is different. So you have to have this, I don't want to call it a gray area of an equation, but it's basically a change of heart posture based on your life, your temptations, your surrender. That is where we have to focus. That's really the thing that we have to think about. It is not a system, it's not an equation. Rather, it is a whole change of posture. Because it's a big difference, man. It's such a big difference. From the moment where I was so overwhelmed by sin that I set what is that called? I set like a blocker on my phone that could literally be unlocked with a pin that I knew. And alongside that, I think I put a sticky note wall. And I was like, counting the days that I didn't slip up. And I kept up with like this streak. And I was like, man, I got through 7 days. Yay, I got through a month. Yay. And I noticed that all these little things I was doing was not helping. And God really got me. God really got me. There was specifically with that streak wall. I'm telling you, I know it's going to sound crazy. I was 14, so give me mercy. I filled my entire wall with sticky notes. Numbered, I think, 1 to 365. Insane, by the way. Insane that I took the time to do such a thing. But beautiful because you could see my desire, my persistence. And I told the Lord, I just want to get to a year without it. I just want to get to a year without pornography. I want to get to a year without self-pleasure. I'm tired of this. I feel guilty all the time. I feel shameful. And I just want to be set free. And he literally, I think before I could let him answer, I ran to do the wall. And when I finally went back to him and I was like, all right, Lord, what do you think? He was like, okay, where's your heart in this? Because what you're doing is going based off of a technicality. And I'm saying this because how many times are we telling ourselves or holding on to like the streak of it and keeping holiness as like this tally mark thing? As if you can even count how many times you're being holy. How many times you're finally willing to surrender and give up. It's interesting that we are just so willing to search for a step by step. When God wants to give us a complete shift of heart posture, that's how we get out of the cycle. Because a cycle is a routine. And when we have a routine of constantly taking in certain things and constantly moving a certain way and making certain decisions, even your daily schedule, the time that you wake up and the time that you go to bed, because temptation is very consistent if you think about it. If you really evaluate your life and the moments that you are tempted lustfully, think about the times that you are being tempted. Because I can promise you it's consistent. Because the enemy's not, he's so typical. He's so typical, and when he sends those whispers, because you've already prepared your heart into this routine. You've prepared your heart that you wake up late and you don't even give him any of your time. You don't allow yourself to be fed in spirit. So where's the armor? Where's the guard that's supposed to be up when temptation comes after you? When we are facing temptation, it should never be a surprise whether we slip up or whether we don't. Because we could easily look back earlier that day and say, did I guard myself? Did I prepare myself? Did I put a gird around my loins? I love that verse. Go to 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. But read it in New King James Version because I love how it says it. Did you gird the loins of your mind? Did you maintain a sober mind? Did you? Because that alone can easily show you the answer for why you are in a cycle, why you are slipping up constantly, or maybe why you're slipping up every now and then. But there is a cycle to it. There is a routine out of it, because only a routine will get you to the same place over and over again. It's not like you're giving a different surrender to God every day and you're growing closer to Him every single day and your heart is still yearning and attracted to sin. Because when He's consuming your heart and your mind, everything else kind of seems no longer attractive. That's how I've grown away from sin. Was the moment I decided I'm not going to keep up with a streak. I'm not going to follow any sort of to-do list. I'm going to just give Him my heart. And when I say give Him my heart, I mean give Him access. Give Him access to see every desire. Every desire. And I was able to find so many things that were actually equipping me to be tempted, not equipping me to be guarded. And that is what we should be evaluating when we are facing temptation. That is exactly how we escape from temptation. Let me read you these verses, because I've read James 1 many times, and these verses just really stick out to me. You know, normally I read James 1 and I just focus on the be slow to speak, be quick to listen, be slow to get angry. And I love those verses. They really give you something. They really just convict you in a certain way that you're like, okay, let me slow down. So I read these verses over and over again, but then if you look a little bit before, let's look at James 1, verses 12 through 15. Guys, I need you to see these verses. By the way, I'm reading in NLT. But I love these verses so much. Oh my goodness. So starting with verse 12, it says, God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Already stop there. He blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. He blesses. Oh my goodness, I love it. Because again, we hear these things and we dilute the power of it. The fact that He blesses you if you endure temptation. Is it not worth pushing past the feeling of horniness in order to be holy? In order to be blessed by your God, by your Father? Oh my goodness. Anyways, let's keep going. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love Him. And remember, when you are being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and He never tempts anyone else. God is not tempting you. I love that, because many people, I've heard it so many times, and I myself had this mentality that, oh, God must just be tempting me, or like, testing me through this temptation. No, testing and temptation, two different things. God tests you, but the enemy tempts you. There is no in between. It is black or white in this case. He tests you. The enemy tempts you. Now, will sometimes the Lord allow, through His way of testing you, that you be tempted by darkness in order to come back? Because okay, this is me. If I were in a relationship, right, my spouse cheats on me over and over and over again, right? Ideally you'd be done. But in this case, we're going to refer back to God. So He has so much grace that He stays. And after being cheated on over and over and over again, think about the fact that, the trust between you and that person. Think about the fact that that person has been out several times with many other people. I, as a spouse, would test my spouse. Almost be like, okay, so in this case, I have a really pretty friend. We're going to go to a gathering with her, and I'm just going to observe you. I'm just going to observe to see where your heart is at. Ideally, I know a lot of us are like, oh, I would have left that man if he cheated on me that many times. Well, we cheat on God all the time, and he never left. He still stays. So he has every right to test our motives until we get to a place where we are finally in obedience. We're finally in a surrender. We're finally in holiness. He has every right to test us because we cheat on him all the time. So in his test, if he allows temptation to come in and he's just observing from far, being like, is my beloved bride going to cheat on me again? Is my beloved bride going to be attracted to and drawn to this thing that I already said is lesser in value than I am? I digress. It says in verse 14 and 15, cling on to these verses. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. Do we understand temptation? Temptation is not this surprise, oh my gosh, you came out of nowhere. No, it actually comes from your own desires. So don't treat temptation like, oh, God, I'm sorry I slipped up. It's just, it came out of nowhere. No, temptation was lurking in you. That desire was lurking in you. And suddenly, it overpowered you because you did not guard yourself. And yes, that is the case all the time. I'm not going to say, oh, maybe that's the case for you. Because in every single moment that you are tempted, it is because it's a desire that already stirred up in you. And how you respond to that temptation is a reflection of how you treated your spirit in the morning. Do we understand? Are we picking up what I'm putting down? Because I was so mind blown in first understanding this, because I treated temptation like it was almost like a pop-up out of nowhere. Oh my goodness, God, I'm so sorry. It's just that I was so weak and that temptation was just so strong. No, it wasn't, babe. There was a buildup. There was a buildup. If you want me to call it this way, there was some foreplay. You want to act like temptation came out of nowhere? There was some foreplay. To every single temptation we face, whether you are alone or you are in relationship, there is foreplay before the temptation hits you like a truck. Don't act like it just came out of nowhere, babe. It was because you were listening to this thing, or you were watching this thing, or you were thinking about this thing. And in all of the things that you were consuming, you didn't bother to feed your spirit. So of course your flesh is more powerful. Of course, because of this lack of nourishment, because your spirit is so malnourished and it doesn't feel guarded or girded by God, of course you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and out of nowhere have all of these sexual desires. Of course you're going to be alone and you're anxious and you have all these things to do. And the only thing you can think about is, well, I have enough time to get into it by myself. Of course, you are going to be in a moment with you and your boyfriend or girlfriend, and out of nowhere things are getting hot and heavy. Of course you're going to give in because you didn't guard yourself. Temptation comes from your own desires, and it comes to what? Entice you, being like, look how pretty, I know you want to feel that. Boom, drags you. I want to say aggressively because that's what temptation does. It drags you. I want to imagine it like you ever seen just fights happen and there's just that one part where someone just gets dragged by their hair. Imagine that. That's literally you. That's literally you, babe. You're fighting. You're fighting, and out of nowhere, bah! And it's like, oh my gosh, it drags you. I wanted you to get a visual because you have to prepare for these fights. You can't just fight out of nowhere because temptation comes heavy. But you have to hit it heavier. Gird yourself in the morning. Talk to God about these things in the morning. Oh my goodness. Because when we talk to God about our desires, we kill sin in our lives. We don't let it birth something. We kill it automatically. Because letting God in on the desires of your heart allows him to shift those into the desires of his heart. So that every single day, this is literally, if you really want to call it that, this is the equation. The more you consider God in your daily life, the more you speak to him, the more you refuse to foreplay with sin, and you begin to invite him in every single aspect of your life, even when the desires are desiring, even when you're like, oh, that looks so good. Lord, that looks really good. You let him in. And then he's like, well, babe, I love you. I have that for you in another time. Because we're going to get to that. Horniness is relevant for a season of your life. But for right now, when you're single, you're in relationship, you're engaged, whatever it is, this is considered temptation. And it's something that you do have to run from for a season. And then eventually, if you ran from it properly and you appreciated it from far, horniness is actually a beautiful thing in marriage. But we'll get there. Now, this equation, I don't want to call it that because it really is a heart posture. It really is you just letting God in so that he can switch out your desires. And then he takes on Jesus on that cross, Lord. He took on the burden of your desires, your sin, and he literally trades it. And he gives you holiness, this ability to not allow a feeling to overpower you in your actions. He gives you freedom. That's what freedom is. Freedom is not, oh, I won't be tempted anymore. Freedom is when I am tempted, I actually make a decision based on my conviction, not what I'm feeling. That is freedom. But no one wants to describe it that way because that's actually the most accurate part of holiness. People would rather, okay, well, if I'm going to turn away from it, I never want to look at it again. No, because in a time in your life, when you're finally married with your spouse, you're actually going to need horniness. And if you villainize horniness right now, you're going to have some trouble being intimate with your spouse when you're in marriage. So it's good to see these things correctly. It's good to trade your desires with God for a season so that when you make covenant with your spouse, he gives you horniness back. But he gives it to you in a sanctified way. He doesn't give it to you in a lustful way. And I can't wait to talk about one of the questions, which is if you can lust over your spouse, because you absolutely can. But we're going to go and trickle down that topic in another video. But he literally sanctifies your horniness so that you will not see horniness as something that is self-pleasuring, but it's something that's going to stimulate pleasure back and forth between you and someone else. That is your spouse. So, understanding temptation. Understanding it when it's become habitual and understanding it when it's just a little curiosity. Because this is the truth about temptation. I want to get into just these little I want to say notes, I want to call them points, but just consider them little ways that you escape. But all of them point back to the same heart posture. I traded my desires for his, and he gave me holiness over horniness. When I look at, oh my goodness, this is so good. This is already so good. We need to chase our conviction rather than chasing the feeling of horniness. Because again, a conviction is something that you know. It is a truth that you know. When you know the truth of what you need right now in this season, does it point back to horniness? Does it point back to self-pleasure? Does it point back to all these things that are grabbing onto you? When you really look at what you need, you need conviction. You need to be convicted so that you have a standard. You need to have all these whispers sent to you, and it's sad because I hear more often than not from people that slipped up in lustful sin, and I can relate heavily. When I felt so stuck, it was because I was hearing whispers from God, but I was refusing to really let them download into my mind. So I called them like the little echoes that he would send me, but I ignored them. A lot of people that I've spoken to always say, yeah, I heard him. I heard a voice tell me I shouldn't be doing this thing, but I still did it because the feeling was greater. This is where we have to make sure our conviction is greater than our feelings, because horniness will overpower you if you are not convicted. You have to be convicted in any area. When we're talking about self-pleasure, you need to be convicted that it is not your time to be pleased. Stop pleasing yourself. Touch some grass. I just talked about this with my best friend. I was like, you need to stop touching yourself and touch some grass. Touch the word. Because when you are, if we're going to really get into it, I can't wait to talk specifically about these sins. When you are literally self-worshiping yourself, you're giving yourself your desire, you're actually manipulating the standard. So don't be surprised when you are in this world of self-pleasure that all you can think about is your own pleasure and what is satisfying to you, that when a partner comes into the mix, you're going to have a very distorted perspective of how you should be satisfied. There's going to be an imbalance of priorities where you're going to start just thinking more about yourself. And now you're not really satisfied because the way you touch yourself is not in comparison to how they're touching you. And now you're losing patience. You're not going to be able to explain to them, hey, I kind of like this. I don't like this. You need, oh my goodness, this goes so deep into that world. But when you're in that world of self-pleasure, of pornography, of all these things, you have to be convicted in that it is not right what I am doing. And every person, even people that don't believe in Christ, have always said there's this amount of shame. They call it like the post-nut clarity. That is real because that is called conviction. It's literally, it is a real emotion that I think we are allowed to feel because it's a moment of sobriety. To say, hey, what are you doing? You're not meant to be doing that to yourself. You're meant to be doing that in partnership. Someone is meant to be loving you and pleasing you in that way. Why are you pleasing yourself? I digress. You have to be convicted. You have to be convicted, babe. You cannot keep like, oh, I just keep going back and forth. No, be convicted in something. Set the standard. And then every time this emotion rises up, you have a truth to look back to. But you cannot be convicted on your own. You have to be convicted when you let God actually work in that. How do you let him work in it? When you're horny, you go to him. No one does that. I don't remember the last person that actually told me, when I'm tempted, I turn to prayer. Do you know the amount of times? Oh my goodness, I need to testify about this. Quick testimony, parentheses. I remember when I was doing a 21-day fast. This was very early on. I think one of the first times that I ever fasted. And I was still in high school, and it was summer. I was home alone literally all day. And I remember I was spending long hours with the Lord. Man, I miss that. I always say I miss that season because there was just no busyness. There was no work. There was, But I digress. I remember throughout that fast, because a big part of that fast was so I could be set free. Because fasting is also a big part of this. When you are taking away the hunger of your flesh, your spirit speaks loudly, and then you're able to actually connect with your conviction. I remember being on, I believe, like halfway through the fast, and I was so tempted, in self-pleasure specifically. I didn't want to watch pornography, but I was just like, and because it was routine, I think in my head I was battling with both. And from what I remember, I cried out for 3 hours. 3 hours of the feeling lingering. At that point, it felt spiritual. The feeling was lingering for so long. Like I wanted to so badly, but I literally cried. I don't remember for how long I cried out, but I was in prayer the entire time. And not just speaking words, because I know that people may hear that and be like, well, I've never even prayed for more than 30 minutes. Babe, it's getting harder and harder. I understand now. It's really hard to pray. But at that time, I don't think warfare was as heavy for me. So I was just chilling in his presence. I didn't really speak a lot. I was just playing music and worshiping him because he's so pleased by that. And I remember through the worship, I just kept singing to him. I kept singing to him and I was crying and I was like, God, I don't want to. I don't want to. And I believe he allowed, again, the testing. He allowed that temptation to be elongated. Because normally it's just a feeling that goes quickly away whenever you're done thinking about it, but it stayed. And I believe it stayed for a reason. Because God wanted me to learn what it is to feel and still be convicted. To feel and still push through. So be convicted. Be convicted, guys, because eventually that feeling did go away. And I celebrated in victory that day. I remember just being so joyful. And I probably broke the fast in celebration. Because the flesh is so weak. I'm too funny. So the moral of that is to say and to testify that if you would just push past the feeling and let him into the horniness and confess to him, he will literally trade that place with you. Why do you think he died on the cross? So that you can keep coming to him over and over again, saying, I'm sinning, I'm sinning, I'm sinning? No, he came to you so that you could literally, in the moment that you want to sin, trade that with him. Nail it to the cross and take on that freedom. That's what freedom is. And I want you to visualize it because maybe, just maybe, that can give him access into your horniness. So that you're not thinking, oh, the cross is just so that I can go crying to him every single time I mess up. No, the cross is so that you can nail it on the cross the minute you feel it. So you can be in your convictions, not in your feelings. Conviction is such a topic, guys. It is one of those things that we really have to talk about more because the conviction of the Spirit that lives within you, the one that is groaning in you all the time, no matter if you're praying or not, he's always just, oh my goodness, he's our greatest advocate. And he is there convicted for you. So align yourself to that conviction. For couples that are in sin and are constantly trying to get out, or maybe you're not trying to get out, whatever it is, I've noticed a lack of conviction, whether it's in one person or in both. You guys have to be convicted. You cannot say, oh, it's okay. God understands our hearts. No. He does. He understands your desires. He understands your weakness. But that's no excuse. Because he actually gave you freedom. That, this whole, oh my goodness, because it bothers me. There are so many couples that say, oh, we have Christ in the center. How do you have Christ in the center if you're always touching each other? Christ ain't in the middle of that. Christ is not in the middle of that. You have to give space for conviction. You have to understand that if Christ is in the center of something, it is because you are both crucifying your desires onto him and clinging onto his hands in order to remain holy. Because when you are horny together and you have a lot of foreplay, you have a lot of buildup, and I'm telling you because this starts even in how you're speaking to each other. If you are speaking to each other a little too openly, you need to start placing some boundaries, because there are boundaries that are supposed to be in place when you are not each other's husband and wife. You shouldn't be talking about some things. Don't be telling them, oh, I'm a little wet. Oh, I'm a little hard. Don't know, because that's opening door, and then boom, spread legs. That's what I'm saying. It's so easy to slowly let temptation creep in just by your speech, just by how you're caressing each other. Oh my goodness, I love that this is coming to mind. We'll talk about this in another video, but just to give a little idea, when you are telling each other your weaknesses and you're actually using it as teasing foreplay instead of protecting one another. that's a problem. That's flirting with temptation. That's you saying, I know my partner's weakness and I care more about satisfying myself by their flesh than I care about uplifting their spirit. Protect your partner. If this is the person that you are saying God is allowing you to be in relationship with, protect your partner. Do not constantly tempt them. Don't cause temptation towards their horniness and then call it flirting. Because that is not flirting. Guys, I'm not like this, oh, holy, holy, holy. I am moving in this space of holiness. But trust that I love love. And I love flirting. It's so like I love feeling loved by the person that the Lord has given me. But am I going to hear his weaknesses and say, let me mess around with that just to be able to spice up the relationship? No. If you care about each other's spirits, if you care about each other's eternity, if you care about each other being the best version of the other, then protect each other. Protect one another. Don't think so quickly about entertaining each other. And that's actually second point. Stop entertaining and flirting with sin. Listen to conviction. Listen to the conviction. Stop flirting with sin. Stop finding it tee hee hee ha 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 and then out of nowhere ending up in the back seat together. That is not the purpose of freedom. Freedom is supposed to be that you guys, when you are being tempted, you get on your knees together and you say, Lord, we're both feeling this feeling. We're about to give in. Give us the opportunity. Give us the space to be able to walk in freedom instead of being in this space of secrecy where we are slipping up constantly because you won't confess to people. Because if you confess to people, then unfortunately people in the church are so quickly to be like, well, that person's probably not for you. And then you're so scared to hear someone tell you that you're like, I'm not going to confess to anyone. I feel too shameful. I feel like I've just, done too much with this person. Now we're just going to keep our struggles secret. And we're going to be struggling over and over again in secret, because when you struggle in secret, you have no accountability except each other. And you guys are literally the ones that are committing the sin together. So how are you going to hold each other accountable? I don't know, babe. I don't know. Why did you think you could hold each other accountable? You're both literally the ones committing the crime. Why are you assuming you can be the judge too? Stop that. Ugh. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. I just find it funny, our human logic is so silly sometimes. We need to stop entertaining sin. Stop flirting with the idea of things. Don't tell each other, this scenario is just like, I was just thinking, like, what if me and you or whatever? And then putting yourself in spaces where you literally have the time to sin. Why are you getting in the backseat, babe? Why are you going in his room? Why are you going alone over here and alone over here where there's literally space to sin? Don't think you're that strong. Because the minute you feel horniness and you didn't guard yourself, you didn't pray, you didn't allow the spirit to be there, don't know why you're thinking you're going to be stronger in that space. You're not going to be. Because temptation, lust itself, it comes from your desires and it comes to entice you. It comes to drag you. So the minute you give it a little bit, it just, that's what happens. So be convicted. Do not entertain it so much. And I can't wait to talk about relationships because we need to talk about it more often. It happens way too much for us to not be approaching it. So we'll get there, trust. Number 3, hate the aftermath. You have to hate the aftermath of your sin in order to hate the sin itself. When you hate the aftermath more than you love the moment, it is something that sets you free. I literally can promise you that. Because the more that you focus on, wait, after I fall into sin alone or after I fall into sin with my partner, it's so disgusting just breathing. It feels like I'm guilty. It feels like I'm shameful. It feels dark when you hate that aftermath and you hate what it's doing to your life. Because let's be realistic, it's not just affecting you in that moment, making you feel shame. Now you're going on in your life without God. Because you're not wanting to talk to him, you're not wanting to confront this thing with him. So you're just walking alone in this life, and now you feel like you're stuck. Now you feel like you're in a cycle. Now you feel like it's not going away because you're not letting him in, and you're not letting him give you that push that comes from hating the things that he hates and loving the things that he loves. When you grow to hate it. I don't mean hate sex. I don't mean hate horniness. I don't mean hate pleasure itself. When you come to hate that you keep taking out the food before it's cooked. That's what I want to consider horniness as, Even though we're trading it with God for a season so he can sanctify it and give it back to us. Consider it like an item that you put in the oven. Are you going to seriously keep opening the oven and taking a bite of the food? It's not even cooked. It's not cooked. And you're going to keep giving yourself food poisoning if you would just wait. If you would just wait for it to be done. If you would just wait for your season of singleness to pass by. And not just pass by meaninglessly. Enjoy it. Enjoy the other things that you can enjoy. Because when you're married, you're going to have a lifetime of being able to be pleased and pleasing your spouse. So in this season of singleness, which is so small, and on top of that season of singleness, when you are in relationship, man, you have to start enjoying the things that you can have. Stop yearning for the things you don't have. Because the more you are in a season constantly thinking ahead, when you're finally in marriage and you can have all the sex that you want, what else are you going to be thinking about? Since you never got a grip of your self-control, imagine why so many marriages have affairs. Because, they never actually got a grip of their self-control. So the minute they got married, they thought it was going to be a bandage for their sin. It just ended up being an opportunity for more darkness to enter. This is why you need to grip self-control outside of marriage. So that when you are in marriage, it is like you trust your spouse, you trust yourself, and you're having the healthiest, best sex ever. Why can't we wait for that moment? If we would only guard ourselves. If we would only not let sin entice and entertain us, but we would allow conviction and allow his presence to be greater, it would overcome everything. And I want to quickly just touch on self-pleasure, because I believe the foreplay to self-pleasure is when you are watching something, and I know where, let's say, a sex scene comes on, and you're like, do I watch that? Do I not? You watch it. Now you're thinking about it. And now it's like, maybe I can just look up this one thing. You literally want the temptation to weaken you to the point where you commit the sin so you're not to blame. But in reality, if you are allowing this much foreplay to occur between you and porn or you and self-pleasure, babe, you want that thing more than you want God. You just have to admit that. You have to admit that, okay, I'm not trying to be fake here, but I did want that thing really badly. You know how many times I was just watching a show and a scene came on and it just reminded me of whenever I would watch porn, and I was like, maybe I should look up stuff on X. Sorry, I had to quickly mention it because I want that little secret to get out. I don't want us to keep acting like Pornhub is the main place. I know it's not, because people are not giving their IDs to sign into that. And if you are, oh my gosh, babe, don't let the government get you, okay? And don't have that label over your name. I digress. I hope no one is doing that. I hope no one is actually doing that. If you are, I'm so sorry. Give that to the Lord and surrender, please. But since that access is not available, I'm seeing social media being so and I can't wait to talk about that next video, because social media is just, the sex stuff is everywhere and it's just too much. It's getting too much. So when you're looking stuff up just so that it can tempt you, you already gave in. You cannot let it entice you, because the minute it entices you, it what? drags you. Good job, guys. I love that you're reading your Bible. And lastly, so we know to not entertain sin. We know that we have to be convicted, not waiting for this feeling of freedom, but being convicted so that it will be more powerful than that feeling. Lastly, we need to stay alert. We need to stay alert. Don't get caught in your weakness. Gird yourself. Protect yourself. Don't get dragged. You need to stay alert. So whenever those little moments build up, whenever these little things are creeping in, and you know it, whatever it is for you, I don't know what it is for you, whether it's you and your partner or you by yourself, there's little things that creep in. There's little ideas that are like, I like that. You have to stop the minute it gets to that point. You have to just stop it there. Don't let it drag you. Don't let it entice you and get dragged. We need to be wiser, because then it will become a cycle. If you're constantly allowing foreplay to be part of you falling into temptation, it's going to become a cycle. And then now you're messing up at any point you feel a certain way. Or you're messing up at any point you have a certain amount of time. Or you're messing up every single time you're seeing your significant other. Because, well, we've already messed up this many times, so mine as well. No, there is a way to break out of the cycle. There's no excuse. There is no excuse. I repeat again, there's no excuse. Just stop enticing yourself. Stop being dragged. And actually prepare yourself for temptation. Because what did the verse tell us at the beginning? Come on. Follow me to the word. It told us in the beginning, God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life. We're going to receive the crown of life. We're going to receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. Babe, if you love him, let these things go. If you love him, don't wait for a to-do list or like this secret guide to come out in order to drag you out of this thing. Stop being dragged by this thing. That's all you got to do. That's all. The minute it grabs onto your hair, which you shouldn't even be at that point with it. But if you're being enticed, you're a little too close, and it grabs onto your hair, get off of me. That's what you need to do. You need to invite God. Invite God. Say, I'm experiencing this thing. I feel this thing. I need you. Because I know that you're greater than anything else I could be feeling or anything else I desire. So call on him. Don't let your sin become habitual, and don't let it become a cycle. And if it does, know that there is freedom to that. You're not stuck. And if you convince yourself you're stuck, then you want to be stuck, babe. I digress. I hope that this could be helpful. I know this is a little longer, but if it's longer, it's because I'm now posting every 2 weeks, so this is kind of perfect. So I pray that this is something that could be edifying for you. When you are in temptation, think about these things. Consider him. I love that. There's a song that Abby Gamboa wrote. It's literally called Consider Him. And when I think about considering him, I think about every moment of temptation where I could refuse to choose him. But I have to consider him. I have to consider that he's greater. I have to consider that he literally wants to trade. He wants to trade with me. So why would I leave him without that hand? Give him every part of you, guys. And if you gotta surrender some things, if you gotta let go of some habits, if you gotta let go of some people, if you gotta let go of some things, let them go, because he's worth it. I love you guys so much. I will be back very soon, in the next 2 weeks. So just cling on to the Lord, trust in him, and believe that he will bring you to freedom. Love him. And I love you guys. See you all next video.